A law meant to protect Marylanders from rogue movers had its funding stripped before it even started working. WMAR 2 News' Mallory Sofaste tells us what had become of the law and what you need to do before hiring anyone to transport your things. Because if it's a matter to you, it is a matter for Mallory.
Hiring the wrong mover could mean delayed shipments, broken items, and in many cases, never seeing your belongings again. This is an industry that's been plagued by unscrupulous dealers, and a state law meant to crack down on criminal activity has been stalled for the foreseeable future. In our 8-month investigation into a ring of rogue movers, we showed you what can happen.
It has been 35 days and we don't know where our things are.
Customer after customer.
A $4,000 cello, china from my mother that we can never get back.
Having their most cherished belongings taken.
The letters from my dead father, every single thing we own is in that load.
And held for ransom or never returned. It took a year for this criminal enterprise to be stopped, its alleged participants charged and jailed, where some are still today awaiting trial. But like whack-a-mole, when one mover is busted, another takes its place. Many of these rogue operators picking up where they left off by simply changing the company's name.
We have a lot of scams in the moving industry.
Lewis Campion with the Maryland Motor Truck Association said this is a persistent problem. And after 2 years of pushing for legislation, he thought they passed a solution that would slow down chameleon carriers.
To require essentially a registration program that movers would have to register with the Department of Labor. They would have to provide certain certifications and validation of appropriate insurances, for example, workers' comp, identification of ownership.
The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration keeps a running list and grants licenses. But as we showed you in our series of reports, many rogue operators slip through the cracks.
They have very few investigators covering literally thousands of moving companies around the country.
By having another level of checks, the hope was these bad actors would either be discovered or discouraged from operating in the state.
They identify states with low barriers to entry, and Maryland is one of those. We have so few regulations and rules that govern household goods movers. And so that makes it really difficult for a consumer to identify whether or not that company is legitimate or someone they can trust.
The law went into effect October 2019, and while the Department of Labor was working to draft regulations, the program, like many others in the state, took an unexpected hit. It landed on the chopping block of the governor's latest budget cuts due to lost revenue from the pandemic.
The funding was pulled from the regulation, and so we won't see anything issued in the foreseeable future.
A disappointment to Campion, more so because registration fees could have made the state money.
Well, you have 500 moving companies at $300. That's $150,000 a year that would have been generated. And, that would have covered the cost of this program.
Campion is still pushing for a registration program. In the meantime, consumers need to continue to be diligent, requesting at least 3 estimates, seeking referrals from reputable sources, knowing your rights and responsibilities when it comes to deposits, delivery, and additional charges before the move.
With moving companies, you're turning your whole life over to that company.
And the wrong one could cost a lot more than money. The Department of Labor said without funding, the agency cannot implement the Household Good Movers Registration Program. They didn't provide any additional information on the future of the program and whether or not they will continue to work on drafting regulations.
All right, thanks, Mallory. We have a checklist on our website with tips on how to find a mover that you can trust with all your personal belongings. If you have a matter for Mallory, she wants to hear from you. Email her at mallory@wmar.com. You can also find her on Facebook and Twitter.